Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Weird World Podcast. My name's Carrie.
Hi, I'm Dean.
And Dean has some kind of weird bit.
It is a weird bit. It's an intriguing little story, bit of a chilling story, I think you'll agree.
Chilling.
Yeah, but not in an eerie kind of way. You'll see.
Okay.
Chalino Sanchez Felix was born in a little town called El Guayabo in Sinaloa, the state in Mexico.
Okay.
It's on the Pacific coast, kind of northern Mexico, basically opposite Baja, California.
Okay.
So in this little farming town, he was brutally poor. He liked to be called Chalino. So Chalino Sanchez is his name. He's the youngest of 8 children.
Wow.
Grew up rough, surrounded by violence. This is in the 1970s, and he was born in 1960, I believe. And so he grows up tough. He sees bad things happen. There's a lot of drugs already there, not as bad as it'd get later, but still, it was a rough place, and it was an impoverished, pretty brutal childhood. His father died when he was 6. In 1973, his sister was raped by a local tough guy at a dance. And 2 years later, 15-year-old Chalino tracked him down and shot him dead.
Ooh, okay.
Killed him.
Okay.
So he's in a little bit of trouble. He has to kind of get out of town. He moves to Tijuana, and he worked as a coyote. So a smuggler. He was an immigrant smuggler across the border between the U.S. and Mexico. This is when it was, you basically, it was relatively easy. It was easier than it is now, but you did it. It was still a pretty nasty business. In October of 1975, he actually fled Mexican authorities who were going to arrest him for being a smuggler, and he fled to, ironically, maybe the United States. So he lived in the Los Angeles area. At first, though, he worked on farms up in the Pacific Northwest, but eventually he went to live with his aunt in Inglewood, California. That's a suburb in Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. It's also a pretty rough place as well. In January 1983, he's now 23 years old. He's living in Inglewood, washing dishes, or like selling, used cars, occasionally also selling a little bit of weed, a little bit of cocaine, kind of getting in with the wrong crowd. And his brother, meanwhile, is back in Tijuana. His brother is continuing to work as an immigrant smuggler. His name is Armando. And so he occasionally would help him out as well. In 1984, he gets married. He marries Marisela. And they would eventually have 2 kids, Aiden, a son, and Cynthia, a daughter. In July of 1984, 24-year-old Chalino Sanchez finds out that his brother has been shot and killed in a hotel in Tijuana. He got caught up in some of the nasty business there in Tijuana. He then decides, you know what? I'm going to write a song. He played guitar. He decided to write a corrido, which, as you know, is a song about kind of violent street life in Mexico, or, Latino society in the United States. He called it Remembering Armando, his brother. And it's, he kind of caught the bug. He kind of liked this music and record-making business. Unfortunately, though, he was arrested for some petty crimes, and he went to serve some time in jail in La Mesa prison. Just a few months. Didn't have a real long sentence, but, he's there, and I don't know if are you allowed to have, like, guitars and stuff like that? Probably not. I don't know.
Probably.
Maybe you are then. Okay.
Yeah.
Because he started writing songs for his fellow inmates. A bunch of them drug traffickers and rough people, of course, naturally. And so at the time, songs about street life were becoming a little bit more popular. And they wanted essentially, hey, write one about me. I'm a thug. Yeah. I'm a gangbanger. I'm a tough guy. Write one about my life, romanticize my life, and write a song about me. So he did. Yeah. And he'd get like guns or cash or watches and things like that in exchange for writing these songs about these people. A lot of them were, by the way, they're illiterate. Mm-hmm. They couldn't write music, so he did. So he kind of turned that into a little bit of a side hustle within prison there. And again, he's now thinking, hey, maybe I can do this. So when he gets out, he starts thinking, I'm going to be a musician. He still has to work odd jobs to make a living.
Wait, he didn't get deported? After jail?
He did not get deported. That is interesting because he's still in the Los Angeles area, as a matter of fact. So he would live the rest of his life in Southern California.
Yeah.
He is introduced to a guy named Angel Parra, who is kind of in the music industry, in the Latino, the Mexican, the Spanish language music industry in Southern California. And he's able to cut some demos with him at his studio. And he starts to play records with a front group called Los Four de la Frontera, which I think just means the front four, I think. And I don't think it's cuatro. I think it's actually, this is the numeral 4. So I'm not 100% sure how to
I'm sure they said cuatro.
Yeah, probably so. Yeah, when I say 4. He did this in 1987 in a recording studio, and he recorded 15 songs. Here's the thing, though. So his fame in prison got him doing the same things out of prison. He wrote songs for Valiente, Loco Valiente, which is like tough guys.
Yeah.
And he would make a single copy. So he'd use this guy's, studio, make one copy and sell it to that guy. Well, but people, they loved his music. They loved his style. He was very rough. He was not a trained singer, not a trained musical professional.
Yeah.
He sang with tremendous heart and passion. And so he just became hugely popular. He started ordering more so they can give away to friends and to family. And then Parra said, why don't we just try to sell them? So he recorded about 300 cassettes of those 15 songs, and they started selling them like from the trunk of a car at quinceaneras or something like that. And so he really started doing that part-time. He still, have these day jobs. By late 1980s, he was making some extra money by selling these cassettes, oddly. And they were getting more and more popular. He was actually developing a little bit of reputation, played a few small clubs, and was becoming gradually more popular. He met a guy named Nacho Hernandez who had a band called Los Amables del Norte, which means kind of like the friendly ones from the north.
Right.
And they then became kind of his band, his accompanist. He would write songs and sing, and they would play the music. This guy, Sanchez, connected him with a guy named Pedro Rivera, who then set him up with a little better small recording studio in Long Beach, California, my hometown. And he started producing records a little more professionally.
Mm-hmm.
He's becoming a little more popular now. He's selling a decent number of records. I think he had essentially by this time, by the early 1990s, he had stopped working entirely and made all his money just hustling cassettes. He wasn't huge.
Right.
He was well known. He was selling a fair amount of his own recordings. Mm-hmm. And they're mostly these narcocorridos. They're songs about street life. Not always, but most of them were songs about cartels and hitmen and revenge and things like that.
Yeah.
Right. On January 25th, 1992, he's performing a concert at the Plaza de los Arcos in Coachella, California. That's in the desert in Southern California.
So he say he's played Coachella.
He can say that, but it's not what people would mostly think. It's a small club. They did have 400 people, though, were there to see him. And it was packed to the rafters. He was, again, pretty popular by this time. A 32-year-old unemployed mechanic from Thermal, that's a really terrible town.
From where?
Thermal it's south of it's in the Coachella Valley as well.
Okay.
It's a pretty impoverished city. His name was Eduardo Gallegos, and he had gone to the concert, allegedly not knowing that Chalino Sanchez was playing there. Just gone to a concert because he had drunk 30 beers that day and had shot heroin. He was in a rough point in his life. He had he couldn't, he was working lots of different jobs, couldn't make a good living. His marriage was falling apart. He had gone from being an alcoholic to now doing heroin as well. And allegedly what happened is that, I guess at one point, I think before the concert started, Chalino's out in the crowd, and Eduardo drunkenly said, "Hey, play this certain song for me, and just mention my wife in it or something like that." And Chalino said, "Sure, I'll do it. No problem."
Carlino?
I'm sorry. Did I say Chalino?
Yeah.
It's Chalino. Oh. Did I say Carlino?
I don't know.
We might have to re-record the entire thing. His name is Chalino.
Okay.
Have I been saying Charlino?
I thought you were saying Carlino.
It's Chalino.
Okay.
That's my bad. I feel partly responsible for doing that. I think both of us, Dean and Carrie, are partly responsible for that. So it's Chalino.
Okay.
So I apologize to all the Chalino Sanchez fans out there, which, by the way, there's still lots of them.
Probably.
So he says, "Sure, I'll play that song for you," to this guy. He's never met him before. I'll give a shout out to you. Whatever. That's fine. Cool.
Right.
Who knows if he really intended to or not. But he didn't. And about halfway through the concert, Eduardo Gallegos is getting pissed off. and getting angry and angry. He finally yells at him, says, "Hey, play this song." And Chalino is in the middle of a song. And so Eduardo jumps up on the stage, and they're like 3 feet apart. He pulls his gun and he shoots Chalino. Eduardo Gallegos shoots Chalino 4 times in the chest. 2 of them hit Chalino in the chest.
Yeah.
This must have been a very small gun, a .22 caliber or something like that. One hits the drummer in the leg. One goes wild. So remember, Chalino was a tough guy. At least he had he was from the streets. He had killed a man. He sang about rough stuff. He pretty much always packed a pistol.
Okay.
So he grabs his own gun and he starts firing. He got off several shots as well
in a crowded
nightclub.
Okay.
Not a smart thing to do, but that's your response in that world. And the gun jammed after a witness said about 4 shots. So he threw it at Gallegos' face. Chalino, meanwhile, he's been hit twice in the chest and once over by his armpit. So it wasn't super, not in the heart.
Yeah.
One, though, did strike his lung. Oh, I'm sorry, it was not the drummer, it was the accordionist, got hit in the thigh. Chalino's shots missed Gallegos completely, but sadly, one of them hit a 20-year-old man named Claudio Rene Carranza, who was dancing with his 18-year-old wife, just having a good time. Hit him right in the leg. You think that's not a big deal? Upper leg, it hit the femoral artery.
Oh, no.
And he bled out before anyone could get there and
he died.
Medical attention. He died.
Oh,
10 people in all were hit. So some crazy part. The bouncers or someone in the crowd or something jumped on Gallegos. He was knocked down into the crowd, and somebody took his gun from him and shot him in the mouth. Gallegos, the attacker, with his own pistol. And so the police come, everything gets shut down. They're both taken to the hospital, and both in critical condition. Both live. Gallegos would be put in prison. He would not get out of prison until May of 2023, in which he was supposed to be deported. But no one knows exactly where he is.
Care back then?
Right now. Well, a little bit more about that in a minute. Chalino does survive. He's badly injured, but he survives, and now he's like more famous than ever. This gives him tons of cred, but it also gave him some kind of, in that world, maybe notoriety isn't a great thing, especially living that kind of life, being shot at, shooting people, things like that.
I have a question.
Yes.
How did Gallegos ever get out of prison?
Didn't
we have paroled. The felony murder rule? Somebody died because of his crime.
Yeah. I don't know if they did in 1992. Maybe, probably. I don't know.
Oh, maybe we didn't.
We may not have yet in California yet. But yeah, you're right. His crime led to a death, even though he didn't pull the trigger. He would later, in his last parole hearing, he'd basically admit, like, that's my fault. Even though I didn't pull the trigger, it was my fault. His versions changed and his culpability changed each time. He would be a little more admitting culpability each time he had a parole until they finally, his last one, they said, okay,
because somebody was probably telling him, in his 60s, just so over the hill, he can't do anything. Okay.
So
said the almost 60-year-old lady.
Yeah. By the way, it said he was convicted for attempted murder. So he wasn't actually charged with murder. So we must not have had that. So anyway,
I thought attempted murder is just as bad as murder.
It's not.
Just means you're not as good as
it should be, but it's not.
Okay.
Chalino Sanchez, though, is now bigger now. He cuts a song that's not a narcocorrido. It's not a song about street life. It's actually called Nieves de Enero, which means January snows, and it was his biggest hit now in early 1992. So he's getting big, but he's starting to get a little worried because he is becoming kind of notorious. He is becoming well known. He's singing about a lot of people. He's not asking them all the time. Singing. He's naming names in some of these songs, and he's not getting permission. Mm-hmm. Famously, when Mario Puzo wrote The Godfather, he went to real Godfathers and said, I'm going to write about this. Here's things I'm going to write about. You guys cool with that? And I can't remember the story, but they said, just don't. I think they said, don't. Did he not use the word something like that? Something dumb. Say, don't do this one thing. He said, no problem.
Yeah.
And he wrote The Godfather.
Mm-hmm.
And so Chalino was not getting that kind of permission. So he was getting nervous. He was getting scared because he was now becoming pretty famous in that world. He gave guns to most of his friends. He had kind of an entourage by now. He'd have like his cousins and brother, and I think a brother. He had some cousins and some other friends who would kind of be his little entourage when he went to gigs now. And he sold the rights to his songs to a record company that gave him enough money to give to his wife, and they bought a little house. But he sold away those future royalties. So it's a little bit weird. He almost had like a, I don't know. He was worried.
Were his songs critical of these people, or were they?
No, they
I would think they would be romanticizing.
Sometimes yes, and sometimes no. Sometimes they're very honest. And here's what happened. Sometimes they'd get their, bad things would happen to them or things like that.
Yeah. Okay.
So he is now scheduled to go back home to the state of Sinaloa in Mexico for a series of concerts, and his entourage say that's probably not a good idea. This is 1992 now. This is one of the most violent places in Mexico. There's the Sinaloa cartel. I don't know if what would later become the Sinaloa cartel existed, but there was massive drug trafficking. There was a very dangerous place to be, and he was really well known, and he was from there. And maybe he also killed a man there.
So what, is he entering and exiting, still doing it illegally? How was he free to leave the country?
Some kind of legal status at this point. I don't know.
Okay. Did he go through amnesty maybe?
No idea.
He couldn't have. He was a convicted criminal, so.
We're not going to talk about that. I don't care. And I don't know. The thing was, it was kind of risky for him to return there. Remember, he had fled there to Tijuana and later to California after killing a guy. So, that maybe wasn't a hugely smart thing for him to do. So he's doing a tour, a gig is in the capital city of Culiacan, capital of Sinaloa. And he's having a great time. Playing his music. It's a lot of that accordion stuff, accordion, guitar kind of stuff. And it holds thousands of people. It's a packed venue. Everybody's having a good time. About halfway through his set, and the crowd's going crazy, a young man goes up to Chalino and reaches up and passes him a note. Chalino probably thinking, this is somebody's making a request for one of his songs. He looks at the note, he reads the note, and he goes... You can see it. There's video of it.
Yeah.
He looks stunned. He goes, he isn't pale necessarily, but you can tell he's thinking something that clearly disturbs him. He thinks about it for a few seconds, like he's pondering something because the band's playing music. He's not singing right then.
Uh-huh.
So he's thinking about it for a few seconds. He eventually crumbles it up, tosses it, and then goes right back on and sings. And he finishes the set looking fairly normal. Some people would later say that in the front row, they said, he did seem kind of different the rest of the gig, that he seemed a little bit,
distracted.
Head on a swivel, a little distracted. And the concert ends. This is May 16th, by the way, 1992. There's a couple different stories. One has him, they hung out there for a while. One has him going to a different place for an after party or something. But he's with his entourage and girls and things like that, of course, for sure. But eventually they leave. It's 3:30 in the morning. Or one says they leave and the car is pulled over. Another version says, no, when they're about to leave and they're at some after party really close to the concert venue, this large Chevy Suburban, a black Chevy Suburban, pulls up to he and several of his entourage and a few girls. They were going to go someplace to party in quotes. And a group of armed men in civilian clothes come out and they show state police identification and they say, "Hey, our comandante needs to see you right now. Come with us. We're police."
Mm-hmm.
At first, one story I read said that Chalino's group tried to bribe them, "Oh, you're just shaking us down. I'm a fairly well-known musician. I just had a big tour. You're just going to say, we'll give you money." They say, "No, we don't want any money. Our comandante needs to talk to you." So he goes with them. Everything says his cousin said he didn't look like I'm a dead man. He just looked like, okay, let's do this kind of a thing. And he goes with them, and they put him in the backseat of the car, and that's all we hear from Chalino.
Uh-oh.
The next day, on the outskirts of town by an irrigation ditch, a couple of farmers find a body.
Oh, no.
It is Chalino Sanchez. He was blindfolded. His wrists had rope marks on him, so they tied his hands behind and back. He'd been shot twice in the back of the head. Classic at the time. Now they'd probably behead you, but that was classic cartel hit type of execution style. So it's never been shown because no one they didn't find that note, but everybody knows that was a death note.
Right.
On that note that was handed to him, said, "You're going to be murdered."
Yeah.
Some people say it said if you don't stop the concert, you're going to be killed. That doesn't make any sense.
No.
Other people say it seems like mostly it was more of a warning, like, hey, they're going to kill you after the concert. If so, he did kind of party there for a while.
Yeah, why wouldn't you go
maybe he just didn't want to
safe?
leave. I know. Maybe it doesn't seem like he did anything special.
Yeah.
Like, have one car leave and, hey, that's Chalino's car. Bye, Chalino. And he goes out a different car in a different direction. Nothing like that. So it's not clear. But it was either a death threat or warning that he was going to be killed.
Yeah.
And he clearly reacted to it as if it was that. Again, we're not 100% sure that was, but it's widely called, Chalino Sanchez's death note.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea is, okay, what happened? Who would do this? Why would someone kill them? There's a few possibilities. That one is that the murder that happened back in Sinaloa, way back.
That's what I was
15
thinking.
Years old. Were those his friends?
Or family.
I think that was as far as I know, that was the first time he'd been back to Sinaloa. It seems like that was. So that's kind of seems the obvious thing. Another idea is that it was the cartels. He'd said too much.
Yeah.
He pissed them off. He talked about their world without asking permission, without kissing the ring or whatever. So they had him bumped off for that reason. It was also thought that it could have been the police. Maybe they were corrupt cops. Probably not. It's not hard to probably get state police. They could have been cops and they could have delivered to cartel, or they could have been
that's what I was
fake
thinking.
cops and they were cartel, or they could have been real cops and they killed himself. So this third theory is that, it was corrupt cops. I don't know what there. Yeah, it doesn't. There's no clear motivation for them. Another one people say is that the Sinaloa had its own music scene at the time, and here this guy who's gotten big in America, big in Southern California, is coming there and selling out concerts. Like it was sort of like rivalry or jealousy among other music folks from Sinaloa. That seems also equally lame. To me. The other thing is Eduardo Gallegos. Like, did it have something to do with that? That guy he had spent prison time. Was it like people who knew him? That seems weird because Gallegos was based in California.
Yeah.
So I understand that. But here's just my personal opinion. I wonder about that drunken heroin influence shooting back in 5 months before Chalino was killed. Was that the first actual attempt at killing him? He'd always say that I didn't target him. I didn't even know he was there. Sometimes he would say he knew he was there and he liked his records. So it's not clear.
Yeah.
So he did, Gallegos' story did change a lot. I wonder if Gallegos wasn't a shitty hitman for someone who wanted him dead, who would then hire much more professional hitmen when he came back to Sinaloa 5 months later. And that it was not just a drunken heroin kind of a thing. It was an attempt to murder him specifically, not just you pissed me off by not playing the song I asked you to play kind of thing. That's what I think probably happened. And the clear likelihood is that it was tied to either the cartels or to this guy's family or friends that he had killed back in 1975.
Okay.
But that's all I have for you. It's interesting to me because you literally have live video. You can go look it up on YouTube right now where he's reading this note that's handed to him in the middle of a concert. And it literally says, you're going to be murdered in an hour, right after this concert.
You don't know that it literally says that.
You're murdered. No, I mean, it for sure does say something along those lines. There's no
I'm
question.
quibbling over your use of the word literally.
Well, whatever, bro.
Because you literally don't know.
No, I literally don't know. But still, we can theorize. But whether it was a threat or a warning, we don't know. It was almost certainly one of those two things.
Yeah.
Can you imagine playing? You're playing a concert. This great crowd, this crowd that loves you, knowing the whole time you're probably going to get murdered by people who do regularly murder people. Like I said, he had been scared for a while. He knew he was potentially a target. So God,
which is weird that he just went on with the night as normal.
It's
you
very
do
strange.
Something to not have that happen.
It's weird that he even went there.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe he thought he can talk his way out. A lot of people say that, like he went there, like, okay, let's get this over with. I'll go talk to L whatever cartel leader. I'll write him a song, whatever.
Yeah.
I think he probably didn't think he was going to get 2 bullets in the back of the head.
Yeah,
but
but once he got the warning that he was going to,
then
like, why
change.
why
didn't he do something? Why didn't he get
just
out of there?
Like you said, go backstage.
Yeah. Depends on what it said.
Maybe strategize and get out of there.
Yeah, I know. You would think you did that. It could have said something like, hey, they're going to kill you before you leave Sinaloa.
Yeah.
And he thought, okay, it won't happen now. But still, I mean, get the hell out of Dodge ASAP.
I want to know where his wife and kids are today.
His son is actually a singer.
Oh.
Chalino Sanchez is a popular singer.
What's his name?
Aiden, A-I-D-A-N, I believe. I'm sure it's not probably not pronounced that white as I pronounce it, but he is a singer.
Oh, okay.
And, check it out. Check him out on Spotify.
Yeah.
So that's the story of Chalino Sanchez's death note.
Interesting.
I hope so. That's why I want to make a weird bit. It's not that much to it, but it is just to me the image of this person on stage live singing, get a note that says you're going to be murdered, and he is murdered just a few hours later is pretty chilling.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Thanks for listening. Okay.
Bye.
See you guys.